Sid, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, young man.
So, this mindset of dealing with challenges spans multiple domains. In this context, how do you define entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship, if we go back to the roots of the word, because most people, it's a very confused word, by the way. People think an entrepreneur is somebody who takes a lot of risk, who has a business. Some think that it's somebody who's got a gift of the gab, a good salesman, it can. But if you go to the roots of the word, it means, and this goes to 1700s. The first time it was defined was as someone, an entrepreneur is someone who has something. Now, it could be an idea, it could be a product, it could be his time, his expertise. He has something and he exchanges it, who wants to exchange it with something of higher value. Something of higher value. The definition of higher value is not clear. It's something of higher value. But 50 years or so later, in mid 1700s, somebody added the element of risk to it and says, you have something, you want to exchange it for something better of higher value, but knowing that there is a risk that it may not work. You go and build a product. Here's the product, and you think that this is worth higher. You spend $1 to make it, and there's a risk. Nobody may buy it, so it may not work. So if you take that definition, which is the pure definition of entrepreneur, other people have layered it and said, oh, it's somebody who's in business, somebody who's, but if you go back to the roots of the definition, in that case, every student is an entrepreneur because they spend money, theirs or their parents, or they go through debt, or they spend some resources. They work hard, getting into for example, university. They have all this SATs and GMATs and all that work that they do in order to get in. And then when they get in, they have sleepless nights. Yes, they party in between, but they work hard. They study for exams. They spend money in order to get a degree. And the assumption is that if I have that degree, I will have a better life. But the degree does not guarantee a better life. So there's risk. So if you take that definition, everybody is an entrepreneur, except what we have and what we think is of higher value that we want to exchange with is different.
This is such a starkly different definition compared to what we're traditionally told. Entrepreneurship, at least in my mind, used to be before this conversation, like starting a business out of high school or college, starting something very new. But this reorientation of ascribing entrepreneurship to, say, students gives, the role much more responsibility. So
That's
how
exactly right. That's exactly right.
so for Gen Z, I mean, you can look at it two different ways. You can say that if being a student requires so much risk, then what's the point? But you can also say that how should students, knowing this now, aim to deal with that risk, aim to understand that risk early on, and then use that to build themselves a new career, etc.
So let's step back a little bit, because you talked about if there is risk, why do it? Uh, everything we do, there is a risk. Every time we step out of our house, there is a risk that we could get hit by a car. There is a risk that we could get COVID, that we could die. There's a risk that we could become paralyzed. There's a risk that there's always risks. The question is, what is the level of that risk, and what do we get in return? And what is, again, the exchange? The exchange is, what do I have, what do I give, what do I provide, versus what the higher value is. Is it, how much of a higher value is it for me, right? So first of all, and I talk about this extensively in my in one of my books. Actually, that one, You Are Not Them, the one
Fantastic.
that the cover is behind me. Uh, an entrepreneur is like a pilot who navigates a risk. People who take risks are in Las Vegas. People who manage risks are workers at corporate America. Somebody else has defined, you go do this, and somebody comes in and is trying to manage what they have been given. An entrepreneur navigates risk like a pilot. Every pilot, when they get into I mean, if there was no risk dealing with risk, no planes would ever take off. But we have planes taking off every minute of every day from every airport, all the airports around the globe, and they go from places to places, and they get there. They have a checklist. They say engine checked, electrical checked, air pressure checked. So they have a list, and in that case, they're managing risk. It's a predefined risk. When you get to a fighter jet pilot, for example, that has the same risks of the plane taking off and the electrical, but they also have this notion of the enemy shooting bullets of them, and then they have to go further, and they may run out of fuel, money. So an entrepreneur in that case is someone who has the regular risks, but is navigating through all the other risks, because there is a cause, there is a mission to win that war, to get something that we think is of higher value. So the notion that, do I have to take a risk, is a fallacy. We all take risks. The question is, how do we navigate through it, and what it is that we want in exchange for what. For example, the Gen Z, and I hate to get generalizations, kind of the focus of a conversation, but they say generally the Gen Z is for environment. Generally the Gen Z has, now they say, people are very fashionable, they like to buy expensive things, and then they say, oh, but they want to be frugal.
Mm.
uh, they like fast fashion. For example, there are some sites in Asia that deal with fast fashion purely for Gen Z. They upload 6,000 new designs a day. So, uh, the other thing is this idea of quiet quitting. They like the balance between life and, so those are choices, right? And uh, the choice is this. Let's I would say, let's take the work-life balance and the idea of quiet quitting, and I'm not willing to work because I like my life. That's perfectly fine, but here's the risk you're taking.
Mm.
uh, they've done a survey. I saw a survey recently. uh, Majority of Gen Z believe that they are going to quit their job at 60 years old, and they're going to live to about 100, but they think they need $1.2 million in retirement. Okay, you can't live with $1.2 million in retirement. You can't do it now, yet alone with inflation and all that sort of stuff 30-40 years from now. So that perception is the wrong perception. Now, are they balancing now? Sure. Are they enjoying their time now because they're making that decision of not working hard and balancing? Of course. But they're actually taking a risk. And that risk of being old and not being, but there's a reason for it, and that is that we as a generation, particularly in more advanced countries, we expect the society to take care of us. We expect, hey, we are America, and we have all these resources and so forth. The likelihood of me being poor and destitute is not that great. I'll be taken care of. There is an expectation that we have built, which is not true.
Hmm.
I mean, look at how many people are on the street now, homeless.
Right.
Who's taking care of them, right?
So please
Does
go
that
ahead.
make sense?
No, no, absolutely. I'm 100% there with you. My question would be, when did this expectation occur? Because if we're looking at it from, let's say, a Girardian point of view, it would have had to be mimetic. We would have had to see this from our parents, from our culture, from our society, and say, okay, well, they're retiring at 60, so now I'm only going to do the bare minimum and retire at 60 as well. But clearly, you're aware of this, I'm aware of this, a lot of other Gen Z are aware of this, that things are unaffordable, jobs are not going to stay the same, technology is becoming more intertwined in our daily lives. So, how can, on one hand, we say that Gen Z have all of these expectations, but then on the other hand, also maybe implicitly understand that they are aware of all of these changes?
So let
Yeah,
me clarify myself first.
sure.
I am all for having expectations
Okay.
because here's the reason: we deserve, we, and I mean me and my generation, you and yours, we all, as human beings, deserve a better life. So we should expect it first. We should expect to, because we deserve better.
Mm.
We should get more. But the question is, how do we get more? Is it given to us? I didn't want to work 16 hours a day. I still don't, but I did. So nobody wants to do things that are not necessarily productive and go against basic human behavior or human desires, right? Nobody. If somebody wants to do that, you have to take them to a psychologist to say, why don't you want to be with your family and your friends and you want to be stuck in the basement behind a computer banging? So let's put that aside. So they do deserve, Gen Z as well as the millennials, they deserve to have and expect a better life. Now, the question is, how do we get to that better life? And some of it has to do with uh, with our expectation of also working. If you look at all the numbers, 55% of Gen Z are unhappy with their work. They don't like it. They think it was done to them. Now, that's a choice. Get a job that it's not done to you.
Okay.
Change that job in some for you. If you are 26, 27 years old and 90, I think from 97 or 96 they say Gen Z, some of you are 24, 25 years old. I had 30 employees when I was 25 years old.
Oh, wow.
Now, can you? Of course. You could do 50, you could do 100. You're much more capable because uh, the Gen Z is much more equipped than any other generation dealing with AI, dealing with the changes. You are, what they call, I guess, digital natives, people who grew up with this stuff. You know it. I had to learn it. It's in your DNA.
Hmm.
So you are, if I wanted to say comparing, you're an athlete that was trained from 3, 4 years old to be an Olympic champion. I came in at 30 years old and I tried to be a gymnast. Well, it just doesn't work. So yes, I can get better at it, but I'm not a native. I wasn't trained from a 3, 2, 3, 4 year old.
Right.
The Gen Z is. So the tremendous opportunity ahead is all in the favor of the Gen Z as opposed to my generation.
Sure.
Here's you said what happened. What happened was, by and large, my generation and some folks that are a little bit younger than me, when we had our kids, we wanted to compensate for what we didn't have, the sacrifices that we've made. So we went out and we provided everything we could. Um, so what happened was the kid thank God they had a good life. Generally, I mean, I'm not specifically, again, I don't want to generalize. There are pockets of people who didn't have a good life and they had suffered and they had life. But if you average out everybody, generally, because their parents did better and they tried to give the best to their kids, they tried to do that, right? But that generation then haven't seen a real tremendous amount of displacement. Yes, there is displacement. There's more, let's say, divorces in families. Yes, but generally, financially, generally, again, I mean, if you average out, they had seen a trend up. But recently, this is the other thing that has happened, which I think has direct relation. If you look at the statistics, they say the Gen Z are more vulnerable, or they claim to be more exposed to mental health issues. Okay. And they say, well, it was the COVID thing, the financial pressure on them, their foreign environment that they see everything going haywire. They all of that sort of stuff is they care about more about their mental health. Maybe we didn't care. We were insensitive to it and said, hey, mental health, my butt. I gotta make a living, so
Right.
I gotta go do that. So because of the choices available and so forth, we're more the Gen Z is more attuned with it. Is it a concern? Of course, but uh, the key factor here is that we have raised the generation because we wanted them to have a better life than we did. That has built some expectations, and there's problems. For example, what I see. Let me give you, as you know, I teach at university, master's level. I teach at USC. uh, I think it was last week in a class, somebody said, hey, can I leave 15 minutes early? I want to go to one of these fairs, job fairs. There's a company that's, I'm not going to tell you the name. There's a company that's presenting, and I want to go get a job. And I said, that's wonderful. That's not a problem. Which company is it? And he said, XYZ. And I said, why do you want to work for them? He said, well, it's a job,
Mm.
but why them? What do they do? I don't know. Now, this is a 24-year-old who is in a very, very prestigious school. He's paid a lot of money to get this degree. He's quite smart. He says, I don't care. I just want a job. Doesn't know what the company does, doesn't know, doesn't care. So here's the thing. If you get into a situation that you don't care about, guess what? They wouldn't care about you. It's like getting into a marriage. That's just, I'm at that age. Let's get married. My dad
Yeah.
wants me to get married, so I get married. But is that going to be a good relationship? No. Are you going to be happy? No. So, of course, we get into things because we think, hey, this is a means to an end. So, the Gen Z, mostly what I've talked to them is look at it as a means to an end. I don't work because I enjoy it. I work because I have to, so that I can enjoy my life after 5 o'clock. To
Just
me,
bef-
to
Yep.
me, that's, see, you have 24 hours a day, 8 hours you sleep, 8 hours you work, theoretically, sometimes more. I think it's foolish to say this 8 hours I work, but I should not enjoy it. I should be miserable here in order to enjoy the next 8 hours. No, we have all control to see what we do. If we pay attention and if we focus, we could do what we like. We shouldn't be 50, 60%, 50 some odd percent shouldn't be miserable at their work. They say we hate our work.
No, I'm with you, but it's just from my perspective, it's not obvious that a lot of Gen Z know this and also know how to get a job that they like. For example, a lot of jobs require social skills, social intelligence, emotional intelligence. These are the things that, as you know, AI and robotics, at least right now, are not going to replace. But again, I have not seen, I just graduated, I have not seen a single professor talk about acquiring these skills for the job market.
Come to my class.
I would love to. I would love to.
No,
I've,
I actually was, I had a session
okay.
last night, and the same topic came up, and the question was this: there's something I call the translators. These are people who are technically competent but
Mhm.
understand business. This is the new generation of the CEOs
Okay.
of the future. They are comfortable with technology, AI, data, and they're not afraid of it. They don't think it's going to replace them. They don't think, but they also understand business. These guys I call the translators. They're sitting between these two things, right? So somebody asked me, well, who is better to be this translator? The people who are technical or the people who are business minded and then they become a little bit knowledgeable about technical? I said, they're technical. And somebody says, but why? These people can really communicate, they can express, they can. I said, being a math wizard and understanding and being able to code has to do with your mental capacity of being good at math, right? But learning how to communicate is a choice. You have a choice to communicate. You choose not to. You choose not to learn to be social. Those are things that you can do. It has nothing to do with your DNA. It has nothing to do with your left brain, right brain, being able to do math or not to do math. It has nothing to do with if you have issues reading. It has something to do with choice. So we can make a choice. We just
Mhm.
choose not to because it's easier.
It may be easier, but like, for example, this quiet quitting fiasco that Gen Z just want to do the bare minimum work, maybe even less, collect a paycheck, and enjoy their life after 5 o'clock. And again, I'm not condoning this. I think it's a very strange thing to do, but it's not like I don't understand why they're doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
For,
I would love to do it too. Don't
sure.
get me wrong.
Yeah.
Nobody, no sane human being should say that I like to work all of this time and not spend time with my friends and family and being no, 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 no. But there are things that happens because if I want to build a building, I need concrete, I need an architect, I need a plan, I need plumbing. All of those stuff has to be done. So if I choose not to build a building,
Mhm.
then it's my choice. I think that what we're talking about is raising this issue that, hey, yes, it makes sense for you, but guess what? The investments that you're making, the government is not going to take care of you. Like all
Right.
those people that are out there.
Yeah.
The illusion that you're going to be better off and not enjoying your life now. Enjoy. You are now the next generation of leaders. You don't like the way the environment or the corporate works, change it. Don't quit it.
Yeah. Yeah. So then how do Gen Z take risks to better themselves to to use Talebian speak, how do we make anti-fragile risks? How do we make choices and better decisions
We
that
shouldn't make anti-fragile risks. We should make fragile risks.
why is
We
that?
should we should make risks to break things. Here's the thing, the risk is not, again, I'm saying navigating risk. I'm
Mhm.
not saying blind risk, going in the middle of the street naked and trying to see if a 18-wheeler hits me or not. That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's not risk. That's stupidity, right? So what I'm saying is, you know, assume that your life is exactly the same. You like it today. You just went to Portugal, you had a good time, you came back, and you have a job. You do the same thing. You have a life. You go at 5. You do there. You go walking. You go hiking. You do that every day. Every day. There's no change. You eat exactly the same thing every day. If you have children, they're always 5 years old or 7 years old. They never grow up because there's no change. There's no change.
Horrifying.
What would happen? Is that a good world to live in? There's no progress if there's no change. Change is the only friend that we have that provides us with option. You have an option when there is change. You don't have any options in life when there is no change. So if we try to preserve the status quo, that this, then we have no change. And if we have no change, we have no options, we have no progress. Now, if we want to have progress, we have to break things. We have to change. And it's not taking a risk. Not doing it is taking the risk of sameness, addiction to sameness, stillness, no progress, horrible retirement, poor life, all of those stuff. If you fall in love, you have given in to change.
Mm-hmm.
So shouldn't we not fall in love? It's not about work. It's about the package of life.
So, what guiding principles can you give this generation other than, respond positively to change or don't fear change?
Uh, uh, First of all, respond positively to change means there is an outside element and we are becoming a victim to it.
Mm.
I want you to change, look at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not responding. It's not the enemy that I have to manage it. I have to figure out around it. It's not a bad thing. My reaction could be a bad thing. My reaction to what's happening, and then can I make the change? Why should I wait for the change? I can make the change. I could be the ambassador, I could be the initiator of change. So it's not response. So one thing that you said, yeah, don't look at change as your best friend. But there's another thing. Trust yourself. We have lost the trust in individuals in building things
Why?
because we think we're not competent. The media, the things they present, oh, we are the victim of this environment. Well, who's going to change it? You're going to change it. I'm going to change it. We're going to change it. Our corporate world is horrible and they're doing okay. So you are the next generation of leaders. Get in there, fix it, just like we did 20, 50 years ago.
Yeah. But to,
Right?
but most Gen Z think that this type of change is out of reach. Like,
That's exactly what I'm saying. Trust yourself. People who were in your position were Gen Zs 50, 60, 70 years ago. They went to the moon.
but
You should
again,
go to
but
Mars. You should go beyond. You are much more prepared as a Gen Z than we are.
I'm
They
with you.
tried when I was younger. I
Mhm.
had the same feeling that it's out of my control. The system is
Yeah.
so rigid.
Yeah.
If
Ha-
this would happen, America wouldn't be America. America would be still a providence of England.
mhm.
The French wouldn't be the French. If we thought nobody wants to give up control, nobody. Why would you give up control? Why would you like this? You don't let it give control. Taking control is a choice. It's I trust myself. We trust our generation. You as a generation are much more capable than me and my generation in what's coming in AI, in technology, in all of that. This victimhood is something that's imposed upon us. And this is what I'm saying. Trust yourself. You have great things to do. You haven't seen nothing yet. The world ahead is much better than the world behind. It has always been better. Why would you think that in all human history, the future was better than the past, and all of a sudden the future is worse?
Yeah.
Unless you are the generation who are making it worse.
Mhm. But it feels like this victimhood is self-imposed. It
Of
feels like
course.
we can't combat climate change, so we're just going to throw soup on paintings. We can't combat corporate America, so we're just going to quiet quit. We can't combat automation or AI, so we're just going to become influencers. But again, and this is one of the points of this podcast, is to get Gen Z out of this victimhood mentality and start taking more responsibility, even if it's a hard battle to fight, even if it's a long-term war. We should still, do what we can in order to, put up a fight or to reorient ourselves.
So let me ask you something. Let's say, okay, Most of your audience may know at least simple math. If you have 2 points, point A, point B, right?
Mhm.
2 points. They say if you connect these 2 points together with a line, do you know how many dots are on that line? How many points are on that line? Mathematically infinite,
Okay.
because you got a lot of lines. Doesn't matter if these two lines are here or here, right? These 2 points. Doesn't matter how close are. There are infinite number of points that if you draw a line, there are infinite number of points on that line, right? Now, let's say there is a different, yeah, I've got, so let's say there's a different point. How many now between this and that? How many points?
Infinite.
Okay. How many between these two?
Infinite.
Exactly right. So there's no difference. If this is where you're born, this is when you die, and this is when you're 8 years old, when you're
Mhm.
18, or when you're 80. How many instances, fractions of seconds, do you have in front of you, behind you, and ahead of you? Infinite. Every one of those instances is a point you can make a decision. You can change. Doesn't matter. You have, how is a decision, how is, you're saying, well, slowly will, no, the decision is made at this minute. You make this decision, and I'm not a victim.
Mhm.
You make a decision at one single point, and then you change your glasses and you view the world from a different set of glasses. And then you are not a victim. Then you are a change agent. You are, not that we can't change everything in the world
Yep.
today, but it's, can I get into corporate world? Can I be the next? If I think that's the way things should change, I should put myself in a position of changing it, not be a victim of it. By throwing paint on a picture, what have I done? Nothing. I've just hired more police, introduced more control, looked more, more weak. I haven't accomplished anything. Yes, it may give me the illusion of an accomplishment, but I'm
Mhm.
not closer to what the objective is. If my objective is whatever it is, now there is another problem that has been created, and it's this cryptocurrency and new age. All of a sudden, I'm a drills in there. So I see a lot of people just kind of saying, "Oh, okay, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to be this, and then by
Yeah.
24, by 28, by 30, I'm a millionaire."
Yeah.
That's just, if you take the number of people who've accomplished that, it's minuscule to the percentage of the population. That's one. Two, let's look at how many of them have that money afterwards or have a better life afterwards. It's even more minuscule. So that is again part of this thing that we look at this picture. We're not all the same. We're not all the same. We're all different. We come from different places. We have different parents. We've had different friends. We come. Some of us are poorer. Some of us are wealthier. Some of us are better at math. Some of us are artists. Some of us. We're all different. We're all different. We live in different places with different cultures. We're all different. Assuming that we're going to fall into line and do the same thing. So every one of us have to discover what's in us. What is that? What do we have, and what are we exchanging it with? So we're all part. We're all entrepreneurs. What do we have with what we're exchanging? I would say Mother Teresa was an entrepreneur. She gave up her life in order to cure poverty and fix it. Martin Luther King was an entrepreneur. He gave what he had. Now, is Elon Musk an entrepreneur too? Of course he is, but a different kind of entrepreneur. If we are willing to exchange what we have with something better, which we actually do every day, we do. A mother, a single mother that goes to work, works from 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning until night, works hard, puts a few dollars aside because she wants to take her kids to Disneyland. She's she can go spend it on a new purse. She can go out with her friends and have drinks. She saves it. to take you, the kid, out to Disneyland because she is exchanging your happiness for the hard work that she is doing. That's entrepreneurship. Now, what we have and what we exchange it for defines who we are.
When did you realize this?
um, I don't know. I think fairly early, fairly early.
How? How? Like, what forces, external or internal, prompted you to make this realization? And how, like, what decisions led you to this?
Um, so I'm an immigrant. I came to the States from Iran when I was 16 years old. I came by myself.
Wow.
And when I was and I have hemophilia, which is a disease, the blood disease, where most people will look at it as hey, you can't do things and you have to, and they're right. There's certain things I can't do because it's dangerous and so forth. But when I came here um, at 16, I came here by myself. Um, and I think that was the first act of entrepreneurship because I exchanged my life with something that I thought it was better than taking a risk because with my issues and so forth. Uh, so changing my life from where I was, which was I was very protected with my parents and stuff. I was not destitute. I I had a good life. I had good parents, but I was seeking something better with all the baggages and issues that I had with my disability. But still, I was making that exchange because I thought this is better than what I have, taking a risk. Now, if you take that same practice, I think I've practiced it all my life, most of my life, where I have a trusted myself, but not blindly. This is I don't trust myself to be able to go and play with you know for James or for Kobe, rest his soul.
Yeah.
I'm not tall. I'm not under the illusion of being something else. I mean, you have to check the realities. So it's not a matter of I can do anything. No, there's certain things I can't do, but there are infinite possibilities. The two lines,
Yeah.
infinite possibilities for me to make decisions. Are they're not all the same, but we have lots of options, and we create more options by changing. I am not Elon Musk. I am not Jeff Bezos, but what I exchange for things is also different. So if you look at the world that way, in terms of appreciating reality, also I call it aligning with uncertainty. There is
Mm.
uncertainty in the world. Nothing is certain. There's 100% chance that it is not going to be this way
Mhm.
or that way. There's always a change because we're different. So aligning with uncertainty, appreciating reality, and what I say, always looking for those aha moments.
Mm.
An aha is when you realize the solution to a problem you may have. You say, ah, I got it, right? So if you're constantly looking for the next thing, how do I improve this? How do I go this? How do I make progress? How do I change? You're looking for an aha moment. Then you are essentially moving in a direction. And
Mhm.
if that direction is wrong, it's okay. You make a change. You made it. You destroy it. I think the fundamental thing is how much do you believe in yourself, right? And it's not blind belief. Again, I want to make sure that people say this. I'm not. Nobody can motivate you, by the way, to believe in yourself or not to believe in yourself. You motivate yourself. This motivating is giving you a motive to act in a certain direction. Nobody can give you a reason to go in this direction or that direction because your logic is different than my logic. You are different. I can only provoke you. I can only put the facts in front of you or the options in front of you. And I believe at the end, you have the choice to pick A versus B. It's It's parents think that they have the choice and they push you in this direction or that. It's foolish.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to. I mean, you've said so many just profound and integral things for Gen Z. You know, we need to get out of our victimhood mindset. The way to get out of this isn't to wait, it's to kind of conjure it in ourselves, to make a decision to get out of it. Um, we look at the world through such dominating filters where we have the technological force against us, we have maybe the cultural and social force against us, maybe a generational force against us. And this is what prompts us, and I'll say us generally, to quiet quit, to pursue influencing on social media instead of doing a real job. Uh, Our generation is fundamentally thinking about life very incorrectly. And it's not obvious that this is going to change without severe overhaul in messaging, communication, and education. So, my first question would be, is this also what you see in the classroom? Or do you see Gen Z acting in different ways?
No, I
And,
gave you an example. The
right.
example was this fellow who was going to get a job, but he didn't care. He
Mhm.
really said, it's a job, whatever the job is. He didn't care about what, if you don't care about what you get and what you do, guess what? You're going to end up in a job that you're going to hate. That's the
Right.
60, 50, some odd percent that hate their jobs. They're not enjoying it. They think it's ridiculous because you just got a job because of getting a job.
Is this advice, did you give him this advice? And
I
did you
did.
say? Okay.
I said, hey, if you don't, he says, then how could I get a job? I said, go get to know what job you want. Go
Mhm.
learn the people, go connect with people, learn the industry, see what you can do, see what you can contribute. When you contribute, then they accept that, then you are part of the whole, you become a better thing, then you become controlled, then you can control. If you're passively on the side and you don't care, unless here's the thing, unless you are in the arena, you are not playing the game. Those who go watch a football game, a baseball game, a basketball game, they may participate, they may attend. They're sitting up there, but they're not participating. You know who changes the game? The ones who are participating. If you don't participate, you can't change. You can't score. You won't win. We can see and watch and like heroes, but they are making the choices, not we. So we can't say or blame us or feel that we've been a victim because we let them make the choice. Don't let them make the choice. Get in the arena because you can, because you deserve it, and because of being a digital native, like the AI thing you mentioned a couple of times. Your generation is the most qualified to use this weapon for humanity, for betterness, for greatness, for it's a tremendous amount of opportunity.
It's also a tremendous amount of responsibility that I don't think we're equipped with yet.
You are here's the thing, you are
Mhm.
already equipped with it. It
Are
comes
we?
with the DNA of a human being. They want you not to have that. They'll say,
Who's
oh, you're
they?
young, because the more I control you as a generation, the better off I as an old guy can drive things.
Mhm.
But you have you're tooled with everything, and it's not being passive. You don't have
Mhm.
to quietly quit. You actively change. Don't quietly quit. Actively lead. Let them quit.
Mm. Yeah, I wish we could just plaster this message on every billboard and throughout schools, because again, these conversations and this type of communication is happening in very niched environments, only in podcasts like, not to sound too biased or conceited, but like this one, like long form podcasts where we're talking about these issues. So just to boil it down, this is the last question. What advice would you give to Gen Z that are confused but motivated to change? What is just something that they should keep in their toolkit for the rest of their life, or for the rest of their careers, whether it's 60 or 100 years old that they're
So
retiring?
let me share something with you. Most old people, particularly your parents, may not. I'm 60 some years old. I'm still confused.
Mm-hmm.
Confusion is a pathway to knowledge. Confusion, as long as I am purposefully curious, I am purposefully curious. And I use the purposeful and curious together. Curious is I'm just looking around. Purposeful means I'm looking around, but I'm looking to connect the dots and make a painting of life and then see what I can do. I believe. And they can see this TED talk that I have around, are you the artist or an
Or the
entrepreneur?
entrepreneur, yeah. We'll link to
I
that in the
believe,
description.
pardon me?
We'll link to that in the description, but please
Yeah.
go on.
So I believe that we are both the art and the artist. We are all painting or sculpting, if you would, our own painting or our own sculpture or our life. We're painting our next best version of ourselves. But we're not done. We're never done. There are imperfections in every sculpture. We fix it a little bit. There's rain and there's other things and it breaks on this side and then we fix it on this side and then we don't like it, we wipe it and color it a different way. It's all okay. It's us painting our next best version. The key is to be doing that. So if we put down the pen and we don't paint our next best version, somebody else does it for us. That's when we become a victim because they're painting my future as opposed to me. So my advice is, hey, don't look at change as something that you are a victim of. It's not happening to you. It's not something to be managed. Risk is not something to take. It's something to navigate. You have the choice. If change wasn't there, there wouldn't be any choice. There wouldn't be any progress. You are the art and the artist. So you have to paint this future. Is it hard? Yes, sometimes it's hard. But pushing through the pain is part of life. Life is not going to IKEA and giving a list of, hey, attach A to B and then boom, voila, you have some sort of a bookcase. It's a fallacy. We are living in a world that everything we do is a how to.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for things that have been done in the past, and there is a how to do this, do this, do this, and then you get here. Life doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. And the how to's are just the mechanical things of things. They're not, the progress isn't in the how to's, the progress is in the not how to's. It's 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 those things that are in there. For example, people say think outside of the box, right? Who draws the box, my friend? Where is the box? Show me the box. You have the box. When you think about outside the box, where is, you draw the box around your own self and you say, now think outside the box. What is this nonsense? There is no box. It's an illusion. We draw it ourselves and then we try to go beyond it. Don't draw it. You have the choice. And at the end, I say, trust yourself, but appreciate reality. Trusting doesn't mean being blind. Doesn't mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm 5'3". I'm never gonna make it as a basketball player, but I can own a basketball team.
Mm-hmm. You definitely can.
There's a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wish I and we could have this conversation every day because there are so many things to extract from it. That again, it just seems like Gen Z are so comfortable living the same life without change, to quiet quit every day, to think of the world as unmanageable and uncontrollable. And I think that it is not only the responsibility of parents, of educators like yourself, but also the responsibility of our generation to kind of talk to each other and say, look, we need to take control of our lives and we need to start making decisions that better the generation and also better the future, because no one else, once you guys go, no one else is going to be doing that. And if you're saying that you are still confused, purposefully curious and also confused at your age, if we are in the same place but still not able to take control, that we are not going to make any progress or meaningful difference. It is not going to happen. I think that's a good place to end it.
Okay.
Um, Thank you so much for
Here's
this
the thing. Let me
conversation.
let me add one quick thing about
Please.
being confused and nervous. Uh, I say you have to learn the art of being nervous.
Mm.
We are nervous, and then a lot of times, for when we want to do something. If you drive, regular drive, going back and forth to the grocery store or to school and back, you're not nervous. But when it's raining, when there's a hurricane out, when you have six kids in the back that are yelling and screaming, you're nervous. When you're taking a test to get the driving license, you're nervous. Nervous is when you're pushing the envelope. Nervous is when you're doing something that matters, that that pushes your definition of limits of where you play. That's where you're making a progress. So what I'm saying is, it's not don't be nervous. Learn the art of being nervous. It's good to be nervous. If you read all this stuff, Tiger Woods, he goes and he says, every time I go play a game, I'm nervous. If you listen to the Beyoncés of the world and all people that have presented something that is great, that's better, that's artful, that they all say, be nervous, because that's when you're pushing the extent of your abilities and capabilities.
Fantastically put. Said this is a meaningful and utterly important conversation for all of Gen Z to hear. Where can we find more of you in cyberspace?
My name, as you know, is Sid, and last name Mohasseb. And you can find me at mohasseb.com, which is my main site. And then there are links there to my articles. I have articles in a lot of different places, from Time to Newsweek to Harvard Business School to Hill, to depending on the nature of the rants that I have. It could be political, it could be about AI, it could be about things. And you could also find links to my books, uh, and uh, and you can contact me if you want at sid@mohaseb.com, which is
Fan-
my first name at my last name. I'm pretty easy to find.
Perfect, perfect. I'm sure Gen Z are going to be reaching out to you in droves to acquire more of this very savvy wisdom. Uh, Sid, thank you so much.
You're kind. Thank you. You humble me with your kind comments. I wish you the best.
Thank you.